This is my third review of the Volkswagen Golf GTI 2015. I think this car is a really good looking car. I love those Ferrari Testarossa wings on the bottom spoiler. This car in red looks very nice. I really enjoyed looking at it, and it doesn't look that different from the previous generation, yet looks a lot better. It's kind of weird. I can't exactly say what it is, why this car is so much better looking, but if you look here, very nice touches, very classic design features. If you look at even the fuel cap cover has a nice shape. It's like it has a in movement type of shape. I really liked it. From the rear, it looks very good. More and more common feature we're seeing on sporty car design is like hips. Those rear wheels seems to have like a little bump over them. It looks like they look like hips. Looks pretty sexy. This is the Wolfsburg edition, and it comes with the 18-inch wheels. It comes with like 10 more horsepower plus adaptive suspension. This car did not come with the leather, which I think I recommend more the leather. Plenty of room in back for adults. You can fit 3 people in a pinch, and there's even rear ventilation for the rear passengers, which is awesome. A so-so cubby spaces in this car, and also rear map pockets. I don't know how useful those are still. I think you can fit a tablet in there, no problem. Here you can see the little speaker in the door from the Fender sound system, which I repeat, as I said in my other reviews, is one of the best sound systems in the class, if not the best sound system. I listened to it again in this car, and the sound was so clear, so good. Being a hatchback, it's very practical. It's got 60/40 seats with the ski trap, making it very practical. Also, when you look at it, it folds almost completely flat. Don't let the camera angle fool you. That's almost completely flat. Meanwhile, the front door design is very nice, very subtle. There is a subtle class in the design of the interior, which grows on you with time. The more time you spend in it, the more you like it. Those bolsters look uncomfortable, but they are extremely pliable, which means it doesn't create pressure points when you sit down in them. Visibility is good out. From pretty much all angles. This one came with the automatic. Now, as you're going to see on the drive, previously I really criticized the automatic transmission, but with the Wolfsburg package, there are more driving modes, and in the normal mode, the automatic transmission seems to go better. I don't know if it's me that's screwed up in the head, but that's what it felt like a lot. The engine is a 4-cylinder turbo, and it goes pretty good. Here are my thoughts on the road, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Volkswagen Scandal, which I think is relevant today. Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Volkswagen Scandal before I begin. Essentially, I was in Germany when this happened, so Volkswagen had an algorithm in their engine management system which would detect when the car was in a setting exactly like the ones that they run the emissions tests. And when the computer would detect that through the movement of the wheels, I guess through the outside temperature, towards the car was rolling, except it wasn't moving at all kinds of parameters. When it met those criteria, the engine management system would automatically burn the fuel differently in order to meet the emission standards, but it would come as a sacrifice to fuel economy. And then when the system sensed that it was no longer in test-like environment, it would revert back to the main programming, which is programmed for fuel economy and not for meeting emissions. So the emissions that were being emitted from the vehicles, like this is not from Volkswagen, this is from third parties that I read on the news, is 10 to 40 times greater than what was allowed. So that is the Volkswagen Scandal. In Germany, it's a big thing. In fact, it's not just jobs, it's pension funds. Teachers' pension funds of Germany are invested in Volkswagen. There's all kinds of people invested in Volkswagen. So this is kind of like Germany's too big to fail. I don't think Volkswagen is going to go out of business next week. And if everything's get too bad, the government will step in. I'm sure the German government will step in. Having that said, I want to make a few comments about Volkswagen North America. I mean, it just doesn't have the popularity that it does in Europe. I mean, when I was in Europe and There's Volkswagens everywhere. And I think the reason why is that if you were to take away the Volkswagen badge from Volkswagen vehicles in North America, I think you would cut sales in half. I mean, they're the best in, their vehicles represent the best in none of the categories. You have the Jetta, which is fine, it's okay. You have the Golf, which is better than its competitors, but is more expensive, so that's not really being better than anyone. You have the Tiguan, which is fine, but it's not the best. You have the Passat, which is clearly not the best. It's not the top 2 or 3 of any list we do in North America. It's a brand where the image of German engineering is so important. There are people who buy Volkswagens just because they're made in Germany. And there's that sentiment of quality and excellence that we associate with Germans. So that's why this scandal, this emission scandal, is so potentially hard for the company. It's because, well, that's the reason why. I mean, when you're based on being a top-notch producer and being a top-notch everything, I mean, you gotta kind of deliver. So, and what makes the scandal worse than all the other ones I've seen in the past is that from the start, this was designed by Volkswagen management to not only offer a false technology in North America, but to charge more for it. All right, so it's not like the airbag scandal. It's not like all those other scandals. This is one that is, from its inception, designed to screw the North American consumer. And that's what Volkswagen did. Having that said, I'm in the GTI, and I would argue that the GTI is the only car in the Volkswagen lineup where if you would take away the Volkswagen badge, people would still buy this car because it's just so damn good. I've had a long time to think about this. I've reviewed the GTI in the past, and I've tried other cars since, and more importantly, I tried the 228i recently, which made me think a lot about this car, and I'm driving it today. I drove it hard just before, and it is just the best all-arounder on the market right now. I mean, it's the everything car. It's practical, it's comfortable, it's sporty, it's fast, it's fuel efficient, it's everything. The outside lines are beautiful. The interior design is just so simple yet so class. And the driving experience, I'm driving 100 kilometers an hour. There's not too much wind noise. There's not too much road noise. If I want, I can turn on the radio. The Fender sound system plays beautiful music. The version I'm driving today is the all-equipped one with the adaptive suspension, the 10 or 20 extra horsepower, whatever. I tried the adaptive suspension. I can barely see a difference. However, what is the good part about that is that you have a comfort, you have a, hold on a sec, let me show you, normal, and you have a sport mode, and then you have the individual. And what's good about this version is that when you are in normal mode, you don't get that horrible transmission. Like, the transmission seems to be much better than the Autobahn version in regular mode. So you have 2 modes when you have the Autobahn version. However, there's more modes for the Wolfsburg edition, and I'm just getting the feeling that the transmission is much better. I mean, it's just much better. Now, what are the flaws on this car? Well, there are very few. I think that I would complain, like, these seats, like this material here that they're using, like, I know it's the classic GTI design, but I just find it so uncomfortable. The texture sucks. You just fork over the $1,000 and get the leather seats. It's worth it. Apart from that, what else can I say about this car? Well, I think that's about it. I've reviewed this car 3 times already. This is going to be the 3rd time I review this car, so you can go check my previous review. And it's a good car. It's a great car. Actually, it's the best in class.